Welcome to our community healing vigil. We are gathered here today to share in our grief together following the events that happened 2 weeks ago today at Wilmington Hospital. Our journey tonight is to walk together a few steps in that long path of healing, to take deep breaths, to share in our mourning, to name our fears and speak our hopes, and to recognize that we go further when we go together. My name is David Chen, and I am a physician. I'm a hospitalist, which means I take care of patients sick enough to be hospitalized. My life literally revolves around the hospital, and I will tell you that the hospital is a community in every sense of the word. It is where we work, sometimes even where we sleep, where our colleagues and friends are, where we spend many, many hours of our lives. Personally, it is a place that has influenced my identity. Through many conversations and journeys with patients and coworkers, I see how people experience and process the most meaningful aspects of life: joy, sorrow, pain, suffering, death, and purpose. I see the ways in which illness challenges and transforms us, and am compelled, sometimes forced, to constantly reassess how it is that I, as a person, will respond to the same. Some of this has been through the experience of violence here in the city of Wilmington. During my year's training as a resident, I lived on the north side by 23rd and Pine, and both fell in love with the city and also feared it, experiencing firsthand the kindness and affection of neighbors as well as the terror of gunshots fired, not for sport or recreation, but in anger, with the intent to injure and kill. I came to know that the open doors of neighbors and friends meant to stop by, and also that hearing helicopters circling overhead meant that there could be trouble and to stay inside. One day I was outside the home and heard gunshots close by. I watched people run past in fear and found myself hiding behind my car, eyeing the back door to the house, deciding whether to run or stay hiding. On a different day, I was inside the home and heard gunshots close by. I ran out the door to find a young man bleeding from multiple wounds. I tried to stop the bleed. I watched the ambulance take him away, and I still remember the shaking of my hands, the tightness in my chest, and that strange jitter that only happens when you exhale after having held your breath for too long. 2 weeks ago, I was not in the hospital. I was in an office building at a research desk where I study how to prevent and treat gun violence. That afternoon, I was starting to type out an email to the police department, thanking them for a recent presentation on gun violence data in our city, in which they said both gun violence is on its way to an 8-year low, and also even a single victim is too many. I never got to send the email because at 3:52, I was distracted by the first of many texts. Wilmington Hospital ER shut down with massive police response. Are you okay? Just checking in. I have no words other than I'm thinking of you. I began packing my things, and as I was walking down the hallway, I saw a friendly and smiling face that asked, "How are you?" And my heart sank as I realized that, one, this colleague, whom I knew had devoted so much love and life to Wilmington Hospital, didn't yet know what was going on. And two, I was going to be the one to tell him the bad news. I will never forget the disbelief and horror that overcame him and the return of that tightness and deadness inside of me. On June 16th, an employee shot 2 other young men at Wilmington Hospital and then left. 1 victim died and 1 survived. Patients and staff were under lockdown in the hospital for hours, and the shooter was arrested in Philadelphia later that night. This description is a brief one, and in this country, we read a variation of this headline on a chaotic and frequent basis. Everyone here this evening is present because they carry some of that heaviness, that constriction in your chest that says, how can this be? How can a coworker turn from a support into a source of harm? How can a home become so hostile? How can we be so together and yet feel so alone? I stopped by the hospital a few days after the event on my day off because I knew it would be hard. I also knew that avoiding it would make it harder. On the surface, very little had changed. The same doors opened. The same people were doing the same work. And yet, it was as if the air itself was different, as though the building itself was still holding its breath. I remember thinking that this was not the first time Wilmington Hospital felt that way. At the onset of the COVID pandemic, it felt so strange to walk into the same physical building while also becoming hyper-aware of the air itself, conscious of every breath. There were so many things, pervasive and ordinary, that still bring on that chest tightness, that racing heartbeat, that clouds my mind's eye with a veil of blinding dread. Sometimes the trigger is obvious and I know exactly why it is happening. But sometimes it seizes me unexpectedly and leaves me gripping the kitchen countertop, staring at the water streaming from the faucet and wondering why I cannot move, cannot breathe, cannot finish washing those dishes, cannot finish writing these words. Even so, we showed up for work. We showed up because we wanted to and because we had to. We showed up because our patients were here and because the hospital does not close. We showed up because someone had to answer the page, pronounce the death, call the family, write the note, change tubing, hold the hand, stand in the room, and bear witness. We showed up when there were shortages, exhaustion, anger, mistrust, denial, and death. And we showed up on those days when the hospital felt less like a place of healing and more like where the grief and anger and the problems of the world had been brought indoors and given to us to absorb. That is what healthcare workers do. We show up. We take things in. We take on the pain and fear and hurt and anger and the grief of families and the suffering of strangers. We take it in like the air we breathe. But what do we do when air becomes trapped? What do we do when the breaths stack more and more, shift after shift, year after year, crisis after crisis, without a place to let it all out? That is part of why this shooting hurts in the way that it does. A hospital is not just a building. It is not just a collection of rooms and beds and monitors and hallways. It is a community of people with familiar habits and voices and stories. Who drinks what coffee? Who is always late? Who always stays late? Who can be trusted in a crisis? Who will make you laugh? So when violence enters that space, it injures not only our bodies, but our memory as well. It shatters the familiar and substitutes it with the strange. As I wound my way through the hospital that day, I heard new stories. I will share a few of them now because I promised to bear witness on their behalf. Some of these are accounts of persons who wanted to share them, but are still reliving their trauma, are afraid of saying something they shouldn't, and still struggling to find their voice. These are not graphic accounts, but they are still hard to describe. They are physicians who were locked down in clinic, huddled with residents and students, patients stowed in the bathrooms for their protection so that they could at least access water and toilets. They were staff across the hospital who, like me, first found out about the shooting from a frantic text or a social media post or by just looking out the window and seeing a swarm of police. They are a mother getting a phone call from their child to say, "I love you," because they had heard about the shooting, a twisted reversal of the story of our uniquely American sickness. They are the staff, huddled in corners, hearing someone rattle door handles and barging in through doors, and the mixed terror and relief of seeing SWAT and not the shooter. They are the nurses who saw the faces of the wounded and the dead, and see them still when their eyes are closed, who were invited but could not bear to walk through the doors of the funeral. They are the staff who already felt the tendrils of violence in the streets and in the home, who were used to coming to the hospital as a safe place, who now grieve the feelings of the loss of that sanctuary as well. They are us who see gun detectors, those doors and corners, those hands in pockets in new ways. And some spoke even of shame in naming those feelings, shame that we were afraid, that we could not protect someone else, and that we could not protect ourselves, that we were not there or that we were there and survived, that we felt anger or that we felt numb, that all we wanted to do was to go home or to come and help when we could not help, that some part of us still wonders whether the next person we are trying to help might instead become the person who harms us. But shame lies. Grief is not failure. Fear is not cowardice. These feelings are not a lack of compassion, but the work of the body telling the truth that something has threatened and taken what we love. And what we love is not abstract. We love this work even when we are tired of it. We love our coworkers even when we do not say it. We love the city even when we are afraid of what happens in it. We love our patients even when the work is hard, even when the circumstances seem unfair, even when the suffering is too much. As I heard a pastor once say, we are not necessarily called to like each other, but we are called to love one another. And so I'm reminded of another act of love and solidarity. I remember in 2020, gathering with physicians, nurses, environmental staff, and persons from every part of the hospital in the old parking lot by the old annex and taking a knee. I remember us thinking of those words, I can't breathe. Those words have followed us. They are the words of those who are held down, unseen, unheard, and breathless. Many of us remember standing and kneeling in the parking lot outside the hospital, along with much of the city, to say that we saw it, that we heard it, that we would not pretend not to know. We showed up for the city because breath had become witness, had become a way of saying that no one should die from violence and that we each have the right to breathe. And so now, after gun violence in our hospital, we hear another kind of breathlessness, that tightness in the chest that comes from shock, from grief, from walking through the same hallways and feeling the panic rise from the sorrow of losing one of our own. The breathlessness of feeling trapped, of feeling alone, of having inhaled so much of the suffering of our city and needing the moment to let that breath go. So tonight, we begin here with breathing, because breath is the first movement of the Spirit. It is the sign that the airway is open and that the pulse remains. It is the rhythm of taking in and letting go. And that is what we are here to remember how to do. We have taken in what happened. We do not deny it. We have taken in the grief. We do not rush past it. We have taken in the fear. We do not call it weakness. We have taken in the anger. We do not pretend it is not there. But then together, we give ourselves the permission to let things release. We begin to release these things in tears, in silence, in prayer, in memory, in words. And we do not pretend that one breath in and one breath out is ever enough. We remind ourselves to keep breathing, to seek out ways to loosen that tightness in our chest, to calm the pulse that is racing, to shield the suffering, to shine lights on that which should not be hidden, and to carry together that which should never be borne alone. No one here is required to feel a certain thing tonight. Some of us need words, some need quiet, some need prayer, some need to leave early, some need to cry, and some cannot cry yet. Some feel anger at what was done or not done. Some may feel nothing at all and wonder what that means. All of that belongs here. Grief is not graded on a curve, nor is it a test of strength or demand that anyone be resilient on command. This place is, first of all, a place to breathe. So before we continue, I invite us simply to breathe. In our moments of silence, to simply breathe in and let go, to take in only what you can and let out only what you are able. And let this gathering be a beginning of loosening what has been trapped, of giving voice to what has been held in silence, and of giving breath back to one another. We're going to continue proceeding through our program, and we have a number of guests and speakers here. This first segment is to honor those on staff at the hospital, the healthcare workers, and I invite Dr. Brian Hames to share a reflection written by a nurse, by someone else.
This is a reflection by a nurse. Thank you for being here tonight. We gather to remember June 16, 2026 at Wilmington Hospital and to honor the lives forever changed. We gather for our coworkers, our friends, our healthcare family. That day began like any other in the emergency department. We came ready to care for people in their worst moments. None of us imagined we would soon be living through one of our own. I was there. I stand before you not just as an employee, but as a nurse who cared for those involved. I remember the confusion, the shouting, officers and SWAT teams rushing through, asking how to get downstairs, but no one said, there is an active shooter. No one told us what was happening or that our lives were in danger. I remember the fear, feeling unsafe, not knowing where the danger was or if it was coming toward us. And still, we did what healthcare workers do. We kept caring for our patients. We moved on instinct while our minds screamed to run, but we didn't. We couldn't. And we prayed, some of us for the first time in years, that we wouldn't be next. Because that is who we are. Even when our safety was uncertain, we stayed at the bedside. But we should never have had to choose between our safety and caring for others. As we've learned more, many of us struggle knowing the shooter's identity was known early, yet staff were not notified. We weren't told who to look for, to lock down, or how to protect ourselves. Information that could have kept us safe was not shared. There was one overhead announcement to shelter in place, but I did not hear it. Those moments matter. Communication matters. Safety matters. And the people who come to save lives matter. That reality is painful. That failure, this betrayal, cuts almost as deep as the tragedy itself. Every person who walks into that hospital to care for others deserves to know that their lives matter too. That someone is watching out for them. Right now, I don't feel that. I feel like we're disposable, like our safety was an afterthought. And I'll be honest, I don't feel brave. I feel shattered. I was back at work the next day, not because I was ready, but because I had no choice. Back in the same hallways, back where our lives changed forever. Now, every time I walk through those doors, my heart pounds. I can't sleep. When I close my eyes, I see their faces. I hear the sounds. I go home and tell my family I'm fine because they're already worried, but I'm not. I'm terrified to go back and terrified not to. This is who I am. This is what I do. But I never thought I'd do it while fearing for my own life. The trauma didn't end when the shooting stopped, when police left, or when the cameras went away. Many of us witnessed things no one should ever see. We watched a coworker lose their life. We watched another fight for theirs. We saw pain, fear, and heartbreak unfold in real time. Those images don't disappear. They follow us home. They wake us at night. They sit with us in silence. I cannot sleep. I cannot stop crying, and I am not alone. I see it in my coworkers, the tears, the exhaustion, the quiet pain. We are all carrying wounds no one can see, and as time passes, fewer people ask if we're okay, but the wounds remain. Healthcare workers are often called heroes, but heroes are still human. We bleed, we grieve, we break, we carry trauma. And right now, many of us are carrying it with little support. And this is not just about one tragic day. It's about what happens after. It's about ensuring those who care for others are also cared for. It's about recognizing that trauma doesn't have a timeline. Tonight, I ask our community, our leaders, and our healthcare organizations to remember that behind every badge and set of scrubs is a person, a parent, a child, a friend. We need support. We need compassion. We need resources. And we need change. I'm asking for help, not just for me, but for all of us. We need real mental health support. We need time off without guilt or discipline. We need someone to check in, not just now, but months from now, when the world has moved on. Trauma doesn't expire because we clock in. Healing takes time, compassion, and resources, and right now, we don't have enough. But tonight is not only about grief, it is also about love, courage, and hope. Because in the middle of that nightmare, I witnessed extraordinary humanity. I saw bravery. I saw nurses holding each other while still caring for patients. I saw a respiratory therapist run towards the chaos. I saw people choose to stay and fight for strangers. I saw coworkers comfort one another while their own hearts were breaking. That courage reminds me that while tragedy wounded us, it did not break us. We will carry the memory of our coworker who lost their life. We will continue praying for the one who was critically injured, and we will stand beside one another as we heal. To my fellow coworkers, I see you. Your pain, fear, anger, and trauma are real. You do not have to carry this alone. It is okay to not be okay. It is okay to ask for help. To the person who lost his life and to the coworker still fighting, I will never forget you. Your lives matter. I pray for your families and your healing, and I am so sorry. To our community, thank you for standing with us and reminding us we are not alone. And to our leaders, please see us not as heroes on a pedestal, but as human beings who are hurting, who are scared, who want to keep showing up, but need to know someone is showing up for us too. We can't do this without you. May we honor those we lost, not only with our tears, but with our actions. May we build a future where healthcare workers are protected, supported, and never left to suffer in silence. And may we find the strength to heal together, one day at a time. Thank you. And please, don't forget about us when this room empties tonight. We are still here, we are still hurting, and we are still hoping.
We now pause for the healthcare workers at Wilmington Hospital. We hold in mind those who care for others in moments of fear, crisis, injury, illness, and loss. We recognize the weight they have carried, the vulnerability they have felt, and the commitment they continue to bring to their work and to one another. Let us take this moment in silence.
I would like to invite my good friend and colleague, Daryl Chambers, to share with us as well tonight. Daryl is a man who has taught me many things about what it means to live and to love the city of Wilmington, and I'm so grateful for your support.
Well, first of all, good evening, and thank you for being here. The recent shooting at Christianity Care, coupled with what happened down on 23rd or 24th in Jessup, it's really difficult to put into words the trauma that I felt. And I'm going to take you back a few years, and as I tell this story, I want you to reflect on the people who entered into my life and helped me deal with some of the trauma that I was dealing with. Many years ago, in the year 2011, my first year of graduate school, I was afforded an opportunity to go to the University of Delaware and study criminal justice. And I was in the library studying Marx. And I'm telling you, it was the most difficult time I ever had. I didn't know what was going on. I had been down at Barnes & Noble for 8 hours reading Lost Capital, and I'm telling you, I couldn't remember a thing. And as I was driving up the highway, I was thinking about how was I going to write this paper. But as I got home, and as many times before, I got a call, because I was working with a response team, an emergency response team. And I got a phone call, and it said, someone has been shot on 23rd and West. We need you over there immediately. And as I got over there, I seen in the background blood splatter on the door. And I seen the paramedic frantically working on this young person. Working. And as I tried to approach the crime scene and console the mother, a familiar voice, councilperson Trippy, stopped me and said, "You don't want to go up there." That reasonable voice, that person in the midst of chaos that told me, hey, you need to be patient, you need to wait. He said, get the mother and take the mother down to the hospital. So I grabbed the mother and I put her in my car, and she's praying to God that her son's going to be okay. We get down there into the emergency room for about 5 minutes, dead silence. And then over the intercom, we hear a code. And then we see all the doctors rushing to this one particular area. Then another code came, and it said the code was over. And I remember seeing the doctors and the nurses coming down with their heads down. And I turned to the young lady sitting next to me, and I said to her, know that our baby is dead. And as the word started to spread around the emergency rooms, my friends wanted to extract revenge. And they said to me, hey, let's go and kill his mother. Let's go and kill his father. Let's go kill the dogs, the fleas in the yard, the cricket. Let's go kill everybody. And at that moment, I jumped up and I said, let's go. But my son's mother, my wife, pulled me to the side and said, hey, let me tell you a story or ask you a question. And I said, now? She said, yes, let me ask you a question. She said that if you were a driver of a bus or train, and you had 250 people on that train, and if you were to make a left turn, for sure, everybody on that train would die, including yourself. Would you make that decision? And I said, no. She said, but if you had a decision where you can turn right and only one person would die, what decision would you make? I said, well, I will turn right, and so the one person, so the many can live. She said, well, no, tonight, your son has passed away. And you don't want no family ever to feel the way you're feeling again. So you don't need a bloody revolution. You need a spiritual, economic, a cultural, a social revolution. You need to go back out there and make sure that what you do will not impact your little grandchild. And since then, I have visited over 1,000 scenes where where a homicide resulted or a shooting. And that day I went to Christianity Care, those same feelings came back, that there was going to be some family somewhere who was going to be agitated, who wasn't going to sleep at night, who was going to be experiencing trauma, who was going to sweat, who was going to be hypervigilant. The same way I was, as when I used to drive from Wilmington down to the school. I remember on one occasion when someone put their hand on my shoulder and I twisted their hand up because I thought that someone was going to hurt me. I remember those days when my professor came to me and said, Darrell, you need to make sure that you seek help. It's not something wrong. It's not a testament to your manhood if you go seek help, seek counseling. Another person in a time of crisis who came to me. And what I'm trying to say that if right here was a community event, it was people in the community. It was a politician. It was a loved one. It was a professor. It was a true community that helped me get to a space to know where I'm able to share my story and to tell others that it's going to take a community to get you back to where you need to be at. You don't have to fight this alone. We're here for you. Another part of that story is that I also learned that I really need to take heed to what was told to me that night. I really need to take heed to that. Because I always wondered that if my son, someone would have tried to stop the bleeding, would he have lived? Then I got with Dr. Chen, and Dr. Chen said there's a program called Stop the Bleed, where we can actually teach initial responders how to apply a tourniquet, how to stuff a wound, to hopefully to stop the bleeding so that their chance of survival increase. And on July the 11th, 2025, I'm sitting in my bedroom, my grandson out playing on the same steps where his father was killed at. I hear gunshots. I hear people crying. I hear people screaming. I run outside. I'm looking for my grandson frantically again. He's up on a porch, on a neighbor's porch. It's not him. But in the street, there's another young person laying down in the street. Immediately, I tear off his shirt. I'm looking for wounds. In that same training that I learned several months ago, now it's real live time where I was taking off my shirt, stuffing his wound, holding on pressure until the paramedics arrived. Once again, it was a community. And folks, it's going to take a community for us to get where we need to get at. So Dominique's story is not just a story. There are other countless families who have lost loved ones to gun violence, families who wake up every day with a wound that will never fully heal. This wound will never fully heal. Families who carry trauma that doesn't fade away. It simply becomes a part of how we navigate the world. So I've come to grips with this. It's not something I want to forget. It's always something I want to remember. I had a friend. He lost a child. His child was shot down near Governor Prince. And one day he and I were sitting there after his son's funeral, and he came to me and he said, the only reason why I'm able to cope with this now is because I seen how you did it with your child. So I became a testament. I became a sounding board. I became a sense of healing for people in my community. And while I don't impact you directly, know that indirectly, it impacts all of us, that exposure to that violence. So we as a community got to make sure that we're there for the next person. Because there's other people that are looking at us, and they're going to need us. They're going to need that soft shoulder to cry on and that warm ear to hear things. So as we move forward, let's honor those who we lost by supporting those who are still here. Let us build systems that understand trauma, community that embrace healing, and spaces where people can feel safe again. And with that, I thank you all for everything, because as a community, we can address this senseless violence that's plaguing our town. But it's really going to take all of us to hold hand in hand. It's not a black issue. It's not a white issue. And it's a movement that I want to be part of. I want to be part of that social, that spiritual, economic, and that cultural revolution, that movement. And I ask all of y'all, in the moment when things are heightened, but when the crowd goes away, and that family sitting in silence, that's when they're going to need us the most. And that's when we should really show up as a community. So I thank you all. At this time right here, we will now pause to remember Jaden and Ethan. We hold their lives in our heart, remember the people who loved them, the future that they should have been before them, and the pain carried by all those who grieved them. So let us take this moment right here and have a moment of silence. God bless.
Thank you. In the next section, we will be talking about violence in the broader community, and would like to invite the Office of the President of Newcastle County Council to share some remarks. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am here on behalf of the Office of President Monique Johns of Newcastle County Council. She is sincerely apologetic that she can't be here today, but we are here to say our remarks. Good evening, and thank you for gathering here tonight. President Monique Johns sends her sincere apology for not being able to attend tonight, this gathering, and she sent me in her place. As we come together with heavy hearts, united in prayer, compassion, and hope, while our community has been shaken by tragedy, we also come together believing that healing is possible when we stand beside one another and lean on our communities. First, President Johns wants to express her deepest sympathy to the family who's grieving the loss of their loved one, to the healthcare providers, and anyone who is impacted by this loss. Please know that our hearts are with you, and we continue to lift you up in our prayers. May you find comfort in the love that surrounds you in your community and strength in the days ahead. Council President Johns also wants to extend her heartfelt gratitude to the hospital staff, the first responders, law enforcement, and everyone who answered the call with courage, professionalism, efficiency, and compassion. In the midst of an unimaginable situation, you cared for others, brought calm to chaos, and reminded us of the extraordinary dedication of those who serve our community every day. We thank you. To everyone who was at the hospital that day, employees, patients, visitors, and families, we recognize that many of you are carrying emotions that words cannot fully express. Healing takes time, and there is no right or wrong way to move through it. Give yourself grace, and don't be afraid to lean on your family, your faith, your friends, and this community for your support. As we leave here tonight, let us continue to care for one another, check in on your neighbors, encourage your coworkers, reach out to those who may be struggling in silence, and sometimes the greatest gift we can offer is our presence, our kindness, and our willingness to listen. Even in seasons of sorrow, we hold on to hope. We believe that God's love is greater than fear, His peace is stronger than pain, and His light continues to shine even in our darkest moments. May this evening remind us that we are not alone. Together, through faith, compassion, unity, we will continue to heal, support one another, and move forward with hope. May God continue to bless the grieving family, those impacted, and protect those who serve our community, and bring peace and healing to every heart gathered here tonight and those who will be joining us via later. President Monique Johns continues to pray for you all and wishes you nothing but peace and prosperity. Thank you on behalf of this office.
we have some comments from some of our community partners in gun violence prevention and intervention. Someone here from End Community Violence Now? Danielle, if you would like to come and speak, thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight together in community. To everyone impacted by this event, I am deeply sorry. I hold you in my heart tonight and the days ahead, and End Community Violence Now is here for you in whatever way you need. I want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our healthcare workers, the teams who show up day and day, night and night, to care for the people who gun violence have touched. Your work asks so much of you, and we see it and are grateful for it. Across Delaware, gun violence has touched too many families and too many communities. It doesn't happen in isolation. It ripples through schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods, and its weight is carried far beyond the moment it occurs. I say that not to dwell in grief, but because naming the scope of this is part of how we hold ourselves accountable to changing it. The work of violence prevention doesn't stop, and it isn't the work of any single group alone. It's happening because of the range of people and organizations in our state who show up for this work every single day. The community-based organizations doing street outreach, like Center for Structural Equity, meeting people where they are, the hospital-based violence intervention program at Christiana Care supporting survivors at one of the most critical moments of their lives, the partners working at group violence intervention to interrupt cycles of retaliation before they start. Each of these efforts matter, and together they're stronger than any one approach can be. We are committed to doing everything in our power, alongside all of you, to ensure that incidents like this never happen again. That work takes all of us. It takes time, but it is happening. And healing discussions like this one matter. So please, in the coming days, take care of yourselves, rest when you need to, lean on each other, and reach out for support when you need it. We're here so that you don't have to carry this alone. Thank you for showing up, for your neighbors, for the community, for yourselves, and for each other.
We have a video from Ann McWalter and Tracy Murphy with some remarks.
Hi, my name is Ann McWalter, and I'm the Delaware chapter lead for Moms Demand Action. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words, and I'm sorry I couldn't be there this evening.
And my name is Tracy Murphy, and I'm the executive director of the Coalition for a Safer Delaware.
Gun violence leaves grief that's impossible to measure. Grief that doesn't follow a timeline. Survivors that live with pain, rage, and bewilderment every single day. The people we've lost had futures, dreams, and loved ones. And that loss doesn't stay contained. It spreads through families, through communities, reshaping them.
It happens in schools we once believed were safe, in neighborhoods carrying this weight day after day, in hospitals, places built around healing, and it echoes through generations. The reality is that 58% of American adults have personally experienced gun violence or had someone close to them experience it. We are a nation of survivors. Every single day, 130 people in this country are killed with guns. Twice as many are shot and wounded.
That fear lives everywhere now, in public spaces and in the places that are supposed to be the safest. No space feels fully protected, and the burden doesn't fall evenly. It falls hardest on communities of color, on women, on children, on vulnerable groups. To the healthcare workers at the hospital who responded when gun violence reached their own doors, who worked under unimaginable stress to save lives, thank you. Many of you still carry that trauma. We see you, we honor you, and what you've given and will continue to give.
Everyone deserves to be safe in the places they call home, in the places they consider sacred, and in the places they should be protected. Survivors who share their stories are fighting to spare others, and in that sharing, there's healing, built on community, built on connection. Their courage is what keeps us going. It's what keeps us fighting to end gun violence and to honor every life taken and every life forever changed.
To every survivor, every first responder, every grieving family, every person who has shown up, you're not alone, and neither are we. Together, we will keep showing up, keep speaking out, and keep working until safety isn't a privilege, but a promise kept for everyone, everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I welcome Tracy Murphy in the flesh for some reflection remarks and leading us in a moment of silence. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Dr. Chen, and all of you for welcoming me. I did a video earlier because at Legislative Hall, we didn't know today what time we would be finished, and we're not finished, so they passed some of the bills we were working on. I left and drove here, and I'm going to head right back and be there for the rest because it takes a lot of courage and pressure from everyone to make sure that the elected leaders are doing what they say they're doing, and we like to keep our eyes on them. So I'm Tracy Murphy, for those I have not met, although there's a lot of familiar faces here. I run the Coalition for a Safer Delaware. We are Delaware's only statewide, state-based group focused on policy solutions to gun violence. And we work in partnership with national organizations like Moms Demand, like Brady, like Giffords, March for Our Lives, and others to end gun violence, the national leaders in the movement. And we also work with Delaware partners and leaders to enact common sense change here in Delaware. And for the past 4 years, our organization has hosted our Fall Forum, which is an annual educational opportunity in the Gateway Center at Wilmington Hospital. We have walked through those metal detectors that we thought were designed to protect us and that you all thought were there to protect you. And so we recognize that safety has been compromised and trust has been compromised, and we're here to shoulder some of your burden with you. Some of you have joined us at that forum, and I'm honored to be invited to join you tonight. The safest communities share 3 common traits: well-funded, well-run intervention programs that are doing the critical interruption work in communities. Communities that are well-informed with trust and confidence in their leadership and law enforcement. And finally, strong gun safety laws that are designed to keep weapons out of dangerous hands at dangerous times. It's not just one or the other or the third, it's all 3. And hope alone cannot get us there. We need to have hope, but hope alone is not enough. Where'd it go? Hope alone is not a strategy. I got into this work as a volunteer. I am the daughter of a nurse, and I'm a mom. And it is that confluence that brings me here tonight, because we all deserve to live and learn and play and pray and work with freedom. And so I'm honored to invite you to join me in a moment of silence to quietly honor the communities impacted by violence. We hold in mind families, neighbors, coworkers, children, elders, and those whose lives have been changed by violence. We remember the grief that is visible and the grief that is carried quietly. And we acknowledge the fear, anger, exhaustion, and sorrow that violence leaves behind. Please join me in silence. Thank you.
As Tracy said, both our state Senate and House of Representatives are in a big day of legislative work, and were unable to attend this event. However, many elected officials at the state level reached out in solidarity. Both the House and the Senate have sent tributes of support to the community at large. Know that in your trauma and grief, you are seen. I will read each of these. State of Delaware House of Representatives tribute. Be it hereby known to all that the House of Representatives recognizes the Wilmington Hospital. During this special community vigil and healing gathering, we join with the community in honoring those impacted, creating space for collective grief and reflection, discussing community safety, and supporting one another in the aftermath of violence. We encourage the community to stay strong and united during this difficult time. State of Delaware Senate tribute. Be it hereby known to all, the entire Senate of the 153rd General Assembly joins Senator Daniel Cruz in commending the organizers and participants of the Community Vigil for Healing and Solidarity. In the wake of the tragic shooting at Wilmington Hospital, this gathering brings together caregivers, hospital workers, patients, families, friends, and neighbors to mourn those affected, reflect on the profound impact of this act of violence, and support one another through a difficult time for our community. This vigil serves as a meaningful opportunity for individuals from all walks of life to come together in solidarity, offering comfort, compassion, and understanding to those whose lives have been touched by this tragedy. Through shared reflection and collective support, participants demonstrate the strength and resilience that define the Wilmington community. The organizers of this event have created a space for honest conversation about grief, trauma, fear, safety, healing, and hope. By fostering dialogue and encouraging mutual support, they help ensure that no one faces the aftermath of violence alone. The Senate of the 153rd General Assembly commends all those involved in this important gathering and recognizes their commitment to healing, unity, and the well-being of our community. May this vigil serve as a reminder that even in moments of sorrow, Delawareans stand together with compassion, courage, and resolve. With sincere appreciation and support, the Senate directs this tribute to be presented in recognition of the Community Vigil for Healing and Solidarity and its efforts to bring comfort, understanding, and hope to the people of Wilmington and beyond.
We're reaching the conclusion for this segment. This has been live streamed, and we are deeply grateful to First Unitarian Church for being able to host this space for us. It has been a place that has been calm. It has allowed us to begin the process and to heal. And these remarks in this time will be recorded. I know many who are staff in the hospital who wanted to see what was going on but didn't feel they were ready yet to be able to show up in person. And my hope is for you who are watching online that you feel seen, that you are heard, you are loved. We are here to care for you as well. Please feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. We have some resources in the back. I want to express my gratitude to a number of other communities that are here in support. If you would be able to rise and identify yourself, ask that those who are here as part of the faith community or faith leaders could stand and, again, identify yourself for us. Thank you, Rabbi Renner. If there are others from the faith community, again, we thank First Unitarian Church here today. We also know that I'm very grateful to Network Connect, who provided us with some resources. And so on the back table over there, we have some handouts and things that can help if you're feeling like you're needing help, right, on an emotional level, on a therapeutic level, on a resource level for a variety of things. They've worked very hard to make those things available to every person in our communities. And so those handouts are there at the back table. And again, I'm deeply grateful to them. Are those here from Network Connect? May they stand up, be recognized. Thank you for showing up with us. I appreciate you. I know the Center for Structural Equity with Daryl is here as well. I don't know that I'm going to ask you, Lavosha, to stand up, but and others, but thank you for being here. Deeply appreciate you. And if there are others as well, and thank you again. If we could rise together, I do appreciate everyone being here today. And I am used to being in the church setting. I have grown up there, and I'm used to kind of a benediction or a blessing. I think we do have a poem that would like to read, The Living. I can position myself right. The living wish the dead peace, and the dead wish the living that too. The living wish the dead no pain, and the dead wish the living that too. The living wish the dead great joy, and the dead wish the living that too. The living wish the dead alive again, and the dead wish the living that too. Thank you all for coming. We'll have a time of break to be able to get to know one another, again, to look at some of the resources we have there at the back table. I did also want to thank those from the police department and the victim services department for being here as well with us. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you. Partners in Care, thank you. And I know there are others, many from the civic community, James. And again, I'm just so grateful for all that have shown up for us today. We take these words back, and we take your encouragement and support back to those, the staff at Wilmington Hospital who need to always be there for you. Thank you.